Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video, I'm bringing to you my summer book haul, or you can even call it my first book haul for 2024. I remember that I did my last book haul in December 2023, so it's been over 4 months since I published any video as a book haul in my channel. It's not that I've not bought any books in these past 4 to 4.5 months, okay? I've bought a ton of books. I actually have 35 books in total to show you guys in this video. One is a box set and all of the others are individual books. They are either part of a series or they are standalones. I have both fiction as well as non-fiction. And this video is not going to be organized in any way. I'm just going to pick up whatever I get from the pile and talk about that to you guys. So without any further ado, let's get into the books right away. The first book in this book haul is a YA contemporary romance and it is Fake Dates and Mooncakes by Sher Lee. I got this as a recommendation from one of Anson's videos from last year. I've been meaning to read this book from last year itself, but it was quite expensive for such a short book. And for one day alone for a few hours in February, it was available at a very cheap price in Amazon. And by cheap, I mean less than 250 rupees. Okay, that's not practically cheap, but for this book, I think that was cheap, so I just went forward and got it. Here we follow our two main characters, Dylan and Theo, of whom Dylan has lost his mother and he's living with his aunt and two younger cousins, and he's also part-time working in his aunt's restaurant in order to help her. Because of some things that happen, Theo, who's this very super rich and nice guy, gets to meet Dylan and both of them just hit it off. For a particular reason, Theo asks Dylan to be his fake date for a marriage in his family, and both of them go to that marriage because of a deal that was struck between both of them. It is such a nice, cozy story. I've actually started reading it and I'm halfway through it already. I'll be finishing it by end of May probably. Let's just wait and see. I'm working on a video project for June. Let's just wait and see what's going to happen or not. And this will be one of the books for that video if I end up doing it. So far it's so good and I predicted this would be a 5-star read for me. Let's wait and see. Next we have a self-help book by one of my all-time favorite authors. I read this author's first book in 2021 and after that she has published only 2 books. I've read her second book too and this is her latest release. It was released last year and for so many reasons I was not able to pick it up last year. And finally I grabbed a copy of it, which is How to Be the Love You Seek by Dr. Nicole LePera. I've talked about this author so many times in the channel. Her first book, How to Do the Work, is one of the books which ultimately changed my life. If I am happier and much more confident as a person now, I owe it to the book big time. I also plan to reread it this year. Let's wait and see if it's going to happen or not. But I'm super excited to start this one because I know that everything this author talks about comes from experience and she has also used each and every one of the things that she talks about in her books. You can find her under the handle The Holistic Psychologist in Instagram as well as YouTube. She gives such useful content, so do follow her if you're on any of the 2 platforms. This book is basically about loving yourself and making the relationship that you have with yourself better because love comes from within, and I think that is the main point that the author focuses on in this book. Next we have a literary fiction, which is also a book that was longlisted for the Booker Prize in 2022. I've been reading quite a few books like this one lately and I also ended up DNFing 2 of my latest reads in that category. I hope this works out for me because I got it at a great deal again. And the reason why I found this book is also because of watching Answer's videos only. She has talked about this book 2 or 3 times in her channel and I don't think she has written so far. And it is Maps of Our Spectacular Bodies by Madie Mortimer. Now this book is basically about this person named Leah, and she's diagnosed with cancer. It is also terminal and she's able to understand that it is going to take up each and every part of her body and she's eternally going to die. Now the thing about Leah is that she's a mother and she has to make her family understand that all of these things are going to be happening in her body and they should be ready for a life that they would probably have to live without her. I'm super interested to read this book because this is written by a very young author who's just 2 years older than me. So I think this is going to be just excellent. Let's wait and see. Again, I got the hardcover of this one for a really great deal, okay? I think it costs around 1,500 or 1,800 rupees on Amazon. And again, for a few hours alone, I got it for like 290 or 280 rupees. I thought of going for the paperback, but the hardcover itself was available for such a great piece. So I just went forward and grabbed it. I was not able to share all these things with you guys on my Instagram because they were very short-lived and I myself was ordering the books at the very last instant. It was either the last copy left or I was ordering it at the last instant. You can also see that the cover of this book is just gorgeous. Let's just hope that the story is as good as the cover. The next one is a standalone dark academia plus fantasy book and it is A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid. If I'm not wrong, this author already has 2 or 3 other standalone fantasies already published and I've heard really good things about them. Since this is the latest release, I wanted to give this a read first because it was easily available for me. Now in this book, we follow our main character who's an architecture student and she has this very favorite author. And after that particular author dies, a contest is announced by the author's family that a person can come and end up renovating the place where this author lived. Now our main character is kind of in a slumpy part of her life, so when she gets this opportunity, she just takes it and goes to the author's house. At the same time, she also gets to know that she's not the only person there. There's also this other academic in that house who's actually trying to prove that the main character's favorite author is a fraud for real. I don't know whether this is an enemies to lover kind of book or not, because I don't want that. But I do like dark academia, and this sounds like a book that will be aesthetically appealing for me. And I also want to read more standalone fantasy books, so I am super interested to get into this as soon as I can. Next, we have a short story collection, which is On the Edge, 100 Years of Hindi Fiction on Same-Sex Desire by Ruth Vanita. Now, this is a collection of LGBTQ plus stories from Hindi media. Not just movies, but also books and all other such stuff. Personally, I don't watch that many Hindi movies, so I don't have any knowledge of this history when it comes to Bollywood or anything in Hindi literature also. I mostly watch just Tamil movies and sometimes some English movies, rarely that too. Again, this is a book for the project that I've included for that video in June. I'm pretty sure that I'll not be able to finish reading this by the time I plan to release that video. Still, I want to give this a try because I've heard really good things about this author's writing, especially inside the LGBTQ fiction in India. I personally have not read that many LGBTQ stories that are situated in our Indian culture, so I just wanted to give this a try. It's also quite a short book, so let's just see how it is going to go. Next, we have my most anticipated self-help book for 2024, and it is also by one of my all-time favorite authors, which is The Wealth Money Can't Buy by Robin Sharma. The main reason why I want to read this book is the author, okay? His writing is something which I just totally love, especially inside the self-help genre inside non-fiction, because his language is utterly positive, okay? He chooses each and every word that he writes as well as speaks in such a way that everything that he says is a speck of positivity, okay? You cannot see anything negative in any of Robin Sharma's books. That's the best part about his writing, if you ask me. And he also makes everything that he writes very digestible and understandable to everyone. The approach that he has towards self-help, in which he narrates a story and tells us the things that he wants to tell us as tips through the story, is always a really nice way to deliver the audience for this particular category without missing anything that he tried to articulate. I and my brother actually pre-ordered a copy of this book each for us because we both are huge fans of Robin Sharma and we want to read this book this year itself. I thought of reading this as soon as it came out because I received the copy just the day after it was published, but still I have not even taken off the plastic cover. You can see the shine here. I'll probably finish reading this by the end of the year, let's wait and see. Next, we have the first book inside an adult epic fantasy series, and it is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. I read Yellowface by the author last year and I just totally fell in love with her writing and the way in which she moves the story. I started reading Babel a couple months back and it was quite heavy for me, so I did not continue reading it. I'm also annotating Babel parallelly, so that is quite a tedious task if you ask me. Still, I'm enjoying that book too. But I think I'll be finishing this series before I get back to Babel again because I've heard nothing but great things about all the 3 books inside the series, which is very rare for a adult fantasy series like this one. All I know about the series is that it is based on the history between Japan and China, if I'm not wrong, and what all happens between them. It takes that as a backdrop inside a fantasy world, and with our main character Ren, explores everything that is happening in there. And for all I've heard, everyone loves this main character because she is like super flawed. I know that I can trust Rebecca F. Kuang's writing because she is just brilliant. And it's a good thing that she is not coming up with any new book this year so that I can read all her backlists before she publishes anything new. So yeah, I'm super excited to read this one. I don't have the second book too, but I'll be purchasing that one really soon. Next, we have another standalone fantasy book by one of my favorite authors again, okay? I did not know that this author had any other books, and the book is Lips Touch 3 Times by Laini Taylor. I initially thought that Laini Taylor has written only 2 series, which are The Strange the Demon duology and the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I have not even read the trilogy yet, but I'm a super fan of this author because she writes extremely well, okay? Her characters are amazing. Her writing, I don't even have to say, okay? It's like the most beautiful kind of writing that I've ever seen. It is quite tedious, but if you're someone who is like me, that likes to see the beauty of the world through the words, then I'm sure you will love Laini Taylor's writing because each and every line that she crafts is just, it's out of the word. I cannot even describe it with words because I'm not that eloquent. I got to know that she has written other books also from one of her own posts on Instagram, especially this book. I cannot explain the plot to you guys without reading the book, so I'm just going to read the blurb. I know what it is about, but I just can't articulate it properly without reading. There is a certain kind of girl, the goblins crave. You could walk across a high school campus and point them out. Not her, not her, her. The pert, lovely ones with butterfly tattoos in secret places sitting on their boyfriend's laps. No, not them. The girls watching the lovely ones sitting on their boyfriend's laps. Yes, them. The goblins want girls who dream so hard about being pretty, their yearning leaves a palpable trail, a scent goblins can follow like sharks on a soft bloom of blood. The girls with hungry eyes who pray each night to wake up as someone else. Urgent, unkissed, wishful girls, like Kissy. So the main character's name here is Kissy. I know that I'm going to like this book. I just can't wait to see what all I love about it. And it's also quite short, so I'll probably read it really soon. Next we have another YA contemporary, and it is The Sky Blues by Robbie Couch. Now in this one we follow our main character, Sky, whose name I obviously forgot, and he's gay. Now he's in the final year of his high school and he's going to ask his crush out for prom. He has this huge plan to make the promposal very splashy, but out of nowhere his plans get leaked on this very homophobic way on the internet. Now he can either turn down his plan or he can just go forward and finish the year without any more problem. He's about to give up and then his friends convince him to go forward and find this person who actually leaked all his plans, that too in such a way on the internet. And Sky, along with his friends, is going to try and find this person who did such a horrible thing. I don't know whether this will be super serious or just in a mellow way, but I want to see how the story goes because the cover of the book seems very cool. And I've also seen Jesse the reader say really good things about this book. I just hope it lives up to the hype. The next one is a historical fiction LGBTQ+ book. And I bought this book just because it was available at a super cheap price, okay? I got this for 60 rupees one day on Amazon, so I just went forward and grabbed it. It was known to me because of following Group Bibliophile on Instagram. The book is Learned by Heart by Emma Donaghue. I also saw that Sonali from the Melodramatic Bookworm read this book just a couple months back or so, and she had really good things to say about it. It's not anything out of the world as of what I've seen her talking about it, but it's also a good book. Personally, I have not read any other book by this author so far, and just see this cover, it's just stunning. I'm not going to try to explain the plot of this book because, again, I will mess it up, so I'm just going to read it out to you guys. Eliza and Lister have never been this mid-awake in their lives, and the slope, with its curtains drawn wide, is bright with starlight. The question Eliza's been needing to ask swells like a great berry in her mouth, and all at once she's not scared to let it out, not scared at all, not scared of anything. In 1805, 14-year-old Eliza Rain is a schoolgirl at the Manor School for Young Ladies in New York. The daughter of an Indian mother and a British father, Eliza was banished from Madras to this unfamiliar country at the age of 6. At the Manor School, she keeps her head down and follows all the rules until the arrival of a charismatic and fearless new student, Anne Lister. The two outsiders are thrown together and soon Eliza's life is turned upside down by this remarkable young woman. Learned by Heart, Emma Donoghue's mesmerizing new novel tells the heartbreaking true story of two women whose unlikely relationship will change them forever. I've heard really good things about this author's writing, so I do have confidence in her. Let's just wait and see. The next one is the book that I got as part of a collaboration that I did with Bookjor a few months back, and it is Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. It is actually the sequel to The Shining by the same author. I have not read The Shining yet. I have read a handful of Stephen King's books before, but I have not read any of the super famous ones so far, one being The Shining. I have not also read The Pet Cemetery, so I'm that kind of a reader. Since I have not read The Shining, I don't want to know anything deep about this one since it's a sequel. It would end up spoiling that book also to me, but I got a hardcover for a collaboration which cost nearly like 1500 or 2000 rupees. So I just wanted to show it to you guys. You can just see the cover, it's really pretty. While I show the cover like this, the cat's eyes just look so creepy and it just calls me to read it. The next 3 books are by one of my very new favorite authors, okay? I've read 4 to 5 books by this author so far and I've loved each and every one of them, okay? Both fiction as well as non-fiction, which is just out of the world, okay? She's brilliant, I just love her books. So the 3 books that I have from her are 100 Little Flames, The Rule Breakers, and When Love Came Calling. All 3 by Preeti Shenoy. Preeti Shenoy has easily become one of my favorite authors. Okay, I just finished reading this one, The Rule Breakers by the author, in the beginning of May, and trust me, it is just awesome. Okay, her stories are very wholesome and heartwarming and they are perfect for anyone. Okay, if you are Indian, I can 100% surely say that everything about her stories will just tuck to your hearts and just stick with you because these are things that all of us live with in our lives. And when I see an author who writes them really beautifully through words, it's just like, stunning. She's just a great author. I have read this month and I've read 100 Little Flames in the November of 2020. It was one of my favorite books of last year and I just can't wait to reread this book because it is one book which is very close to my heart. It's like something totally out of the world. And the other one is When Love Came Calling. I've not read this book by her so far. It's just a few pages long. So if I start reading it, I'll be able to finish it in like 1 or 2 days. Let's just wait and see. But I don't have any doubt that I'm going to enjoy this book because she is brilliant and just knows how to write really good Indian stories. I'm also actively following the author on Instagram because I'm loving her content there too. But her books are just out of the world. Okay, she has easily become one of my favorite authors and I can't wait to pick this up. Next, we have another book by one of my favorite authors, and it is Anansi Boys by Neil Gaiman. I'm not going to talk much about this book because it is a sequel to American Gods. I think technically they are both companion stories because Neil Gaiman mostly writes only standalone books, so I don't think this is like a direct sequel to American Gods. I have that book with me on my shelf. It's there. I bought it last year during the Lock the Box sale. I've not read it yet, but I want to read this only after finishing reading that one. So I did not want to know anything about this because I don't want to spoil that book for me. So yeah, I'm not going to read the blurb for you guys, and I'm not even going to, attempt to guess what this is about. I'm just here for Neil Gaiman and his writing. And again, see this cover. It is so beautiful. Very minimal, yet very beautiful. Next, we have another YA contemporary, and if I'm not wrong, this is one of those books which just became so popular when YA books were a huge thing, okay, when they started becoming a huge thing. And this author is also super popular because of her YA books, and it is Eleanor and Park by Rainbow Rowell. I have read a few books by Rainbow Rowell so far, and even though some people do not like her books, I tend to like them so much because they are very cozy in their tone. Even this year, in January, I read Landline. It was not anything excellent, okay, but it was a very cozy story. It is perfect to read during the holidays. I've been meaning to read this book by her for quite a few years now, so I just went forward and bought it. It is about two young kids, Eleanor and Park, in their teenage. Eleanor is new to town and Park is someone who tries to keep himself invisible from anyone else. Both of them end up falling for each other, and this is basically just their story. I'm sure that this will be cozy because from my experience with this author, I know I can expect that from her. Next, we have a romance book, and if I'm not wrong, this is one of those serious romance books, which is Glitterland by Alexis Hall. I've read another book by this author, Boyfriend Material, I think in 2021, so it's been nearly 3 years since I read it. But I remember that book was really well. Okay, it was a very mature love story that hit really good points very properly. Now in this book, we follow a main character who's this very successful author, but because of some things that happen, his career does not go as well as he wants it to, and he's kind of super depressed and anxious right now, because of which he has totally changed his genre of writing too. His life is basically not that great, okay? He's suffering from a lot of mental health issues, and during this time only, this other guy comes into his life and he's going to try and change the life of our main character so that he can see all the great things and good things about life from being such a depressed mess. I trust in this author's writing because I think they have the ability to showcase such issues properly without overdoing anything. I think this is also the first book in a series, but I'm not sure though. If I end up finishing this one and also end up liking it, I might continue on with the series. The next one is a historical/literary fiction that was sent to me by Bookstore for the beginning of the year. They gave it to me as a New Year gift for being one of their partners for quite a few years now. And the book is Confessions in B Flat by Donna. I know that this author has written a lot of books before this one, but I've not read any of her other books. So I'm just going to read the plot of the book from the blurb in the back cover. The year is 1963. In Harlem, the epicenter of black culture, the fight for equality has never been stronger. The time is now, enough is enough. Yet even with its ranks, a different kind of battle rages. Love thy neighbor or rise up against your oppressors. Jason Tanner has just survived in New York to help spread the message of his mentor, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., of passive resistance, while beat poet Anita Hopkins believes the teachings of Malcolm X with all her heart, that the way to true freedom is by any means necessary. When Jason sees Anita perform her poetry at the iconic B-flat lounge, he's transfixed. And Anita has never met anyone who can match her wit for wit like this. One movement, two warring ideologies. Can love be enough to unite them? Confessions in B-flat is a celebration of the hard-won victories of those who came before us and a stark reminder of just how far we still have to. That sounds like a super strong and compelling plot. And just look at the cover of this book, it is gorgeous. For some reason, many of the books that I'm showing today in this video go really well with my booth, and I'm just loving it. Again, this cover is stunning and I can't wait to read this book. If you have read this before, please do let me know down in the comments because I want to dig a bit deeper into this one. The next one is the last book inside a series. I bought this because it was available at a very cheap price, okay? I don't have the first 2 books with me, but I have the last book, like I do sometimes, and it is The Magician's Land by Lev Grossman, which is the final book inside the Magician's trilogy. I have not read the first 2 books. I don't have both of them with me, but I bought this because it was available for a very cheap price. I think it was available for like 120 or 130 rupees, so I just grabbed it. I have not read the first 2 books, so I have not read the blurb of this one, but I know that this is a magical fantasy series and it's basically like Harry Potter for adults. It's also dark academia, so I think it will be up my alley. I get the first 2 books, read them and then get to this as soon as I can. The next 10 books are those which I bought in the Chennai book fair that happened in January here in Chennai. And I have both fiction as well as non-fiction. The first of these is The Selfish Gene by Richard Dawkins. Now this is one of those books which is very very popular for laymen like us to learn about genetic mutations and what all our genes and DNA have been through over the ages and evolved to be the person that we are right now. It also talks about the selfish gene in specific, which makes us do so many of the things that we do in life. I read about this book and especially the selfish gene a lot in another book called The First Cell by Azra Raza, which I started reading last year. I did not finish reading that book, but there were a lot of references to this book in that one and it made me want to pick this book up. Most of the books that I've bought in that book fair are used books, and I found this also in a used book stand. It was available for just 100 rupees, so I just grabbed the copy. It is also the 30th anniversary edition that is specific for India. And of course very heavy too. I don't know when I'll be reading this one, but I think I'll learn a lot from this. Next we have another self-help book from a very popular Indian self-help series, and it is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Luck by Ashwin Sanghi. I've read only one other book from the series, which is 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth by the authors from the series, and it was really nice. I want to read this one too. I have read like 1 or 2 Ashwin Sanghi books before this one, and they have been really helpful for me, especially 13 Steps to Bloody Good Wealth. And nowadays we are not even able to get this edition, the first editions of the books online. All of them are just turned into the new edition, which doesn't even look that good. So I'm just glad that I got this one, and it will also be a light read because it's very short and the text is also quite big. Let's see when I end up reading this. The next one is also by a very super popular Indian self-help author, especially when it comes to health. And the book is The PCOD Thyroid Book by Rujita Divekar. I know that this book is not going to be of any help for me in a physical sense, but acquiring this knowledge, I can at least inform people in my life who are in need of knowledge from this book as such. My brother was the one who actually picked up this book because both of us read Don't Lose Out Workout by Rujita Divekar last year, and that book just blew out both of our minds, and we have changed a lot after reading that book, both of us. So when he saw one of the books by this author, we just had to get it. Even though it is not going to be of any use directly to us, I know that this book is going to be awesome, so I just went forward and grabbed it. Again, this book was something which we got for just 100 rupees. Next, we have a collection of essays about love that are written by Indian authors. The book is 11 Ways to Love, edited and put together by Gulzar. As I said before, it's just a collection of 11 essays by 11 different authors. Personally, I have not read anything by any of the 11 authors that are mentioned in this book, and I've also not read any essay collection before this one, so I just want to give it a try. I think again I saw Sonali from the Melodramatic Bookworm talking about this book in one of her videos like months back, so when I saw the copy I just wanted to grab it because it was also in a really good condition. Again, see the cover of the book, it is very bright and beautiful. If you have read this one, please do let me know down in the comments. If you want me to read any other such essay collections, and if you have any tips for me to go forward and start reading essay collections, you can also tell me that down. The next one is the first book inside an Indian fantasy series, and it's also part of a really huge film franchise, and the book is The Rise of Sivagami by Anand Neelakandan, which is the first book inside the Bahubali trilogy that focuses on the character Sivagami alone, who's the mother of Bahubali inside the movies. It was played by Ramya Krishnan in the movies, and I, like every other Indian, watched those 2 movies and I'm a huge fan of both of them. Okay, they do have flaws, okay, obviously they do, but as huge epic movies, I'm down to watch both of them anytime, and Sivagami is easily one of my favorite characters from both of those movies. Okay, there are certain scenes during which Ramya Krishnan does certain things which just gives me goosebumps. Okay, I just love certain scenes from her throughout those 2 movies. And since this is a series that is focusing just on her character alone, I want to read it. I actually started reading this on my Kindle 1 or 2 years back, and for some reason I did not continue on with it. Since it is written by Anand Neelakandan, I know that this is going to be good. The other 2 books inside the series are Chaturanga and Queen of Maheshwati. I want to finish reading this one, and I want to read both of those 2 because I know the series will be good. Because already the characters are epic, and this man just writes incredibly well, I know that. So yeah, very high on my TV. Next we have another short story collection, and it is kind of a gothic or horror short story collection by one of the most popular classic authors inside this genre, and the collection is Don't Look Now and Other Stories by Daphne du Maurier. I've heard really great things about this author's writing, but I've not read anything by her so far, okay? I've not even read Rebecca. So yeah, I know that it's kind of a crime for me to say that. Still, I have not read anything by this author. I want to start with this short story collection. The book is obviously short since it's just a collection of 5 short stories, but they are quite dense as far as I can see since they are classics. I hope they will be up to my taste and I will end up liking them, because I've heard that she writes in such a great way that it builds the atmosphere like real around you. I want to feel that. I am expecting a lot from this. And the cover is also really spooky and gothic in its tone. So yeah, can't wait to read this one. The next one is another non-fiction book, and it is A Short History of Nearly Everything by Bill Bryson. I know that Bill Bryson is super popular, and I read one other book by him in 2022. Okay, that was my first book from the author. It was A Walk in the Woods. There was nothing wrong about the book for me. It was very informative. But his writing was something which just kept on pissing me off, because he was body shaming the hell out of people throughout the book. And I thought that this might be the only book by that like that by him. So I just went forward and read another book by him. I started it and he did the same thing over and over again in that book too. So I just went forward and unhauled all the books that I had by him the very next month itself, because I was not able to put up with it any longer. But now I'm in a state of mind that I want to give him another chance. Since this is practically his most popular book, I want to see how it is. And I've heard really great things about it too. Only based on my experience with this book, my future with this author's books will be determined. If he ends up doing a good job here without, shaming anyone, then I will continue on reading his books. But if this one also ends up like this, I'll just have to give up on the author, because it is not something that I want to promote or, even follow in any way in my life. The next one is another non-fiction book, and it is kind of self-help. I read this in February, I think, and I should say that not a huge fan of this book. If you are like a total beginner when it comes to non-fiction books, then you can read this book. If you are already a person who has read quite a few non-fiction books in life, don't read this, okay, because it's not that great. And it is Unposted Letter by T.T. Rangarajan, who's the founder of the Infinite Thoughts group, if I'm not wrong. This is just a collection of letters written by the author to his readers as a form of motivation. Okay, most of them are really good, but some of them are like very preachy, if you ask me. Okay, he goes on telling that this is the right way to do stuff, because we cannot always say that there is only one right way to do anything. I think that is right for one person can be totally wrong for 10 people for different reasons, and it can be right for that one person because of one strong reason too. So there's no straightforward way to say something is good and bad all the time. There are nuances, there are caveats all the time. We need to keep that in mind, and I don't think that was handled in a mature way in this book. But if you are a beginner, you can go forward and try this. I'm sure that it will inspire you and motivate you to read more. Next, we have a Tamil historical fiction duology. Okay, these are the only 2 Tamil books that I've bought so far this year, and I'm super excited to get to them. Okay, because the edition is gorgeous, and I've heard really great things about both of these books. They are not translated into English though, because they are quite recent. I think they were published in the last decade or so. And the series is Veera Yuga Nayagan Velpari by Su Venkatesan. It has 2 volumes, this one and this one, and both of them are completely illustrated. It is the historical story of one of the greatest Tamil kings, Vallal Pari. I've heard really great things about this series from everyone that has read this so far. The books are quite heavy, so I want to read them as soon as I can and also talk about them with you guys. If any of you has read this duology, please do tell me in the comments what all I can expect from it, because just flipping through the illustrations itself, it seems like a super magnificent and epic story. After reading Ponniyin Selvan, I have not read anything that immensely great so far in Tamil, so I think this will satisfy my hunger for such things in Tamil literature. So yeah, I'm very excited to read this. And finally, last but not the least, this is the best of all the books that I want to show to you in this book haul, and it is a box set, as I said before. I read another series by this author and finished it just a couple months back, and I did end up liking that series so much, and my love towards this author's writing has also increased. She's like the most popular author on the book internet as of now. At least she's been so popular for the past year or year and a half, and I'm obviously talking about Sarah J. Maas and her first ever series, Throne of Glass. Okay, I have started reading Throne of Glass. I read the first book way back in 2018 while I was in college. And after that, the books were so expensive, I could not afford buying them. So I did not continue on with the series. You guys know that I have read the Avatar series just a couple months back. My plan was to finish reading Avatar and read the first 3 books inside the Crescent City series and then come to Throne of Glass, since it's an 8-book long huge series. But people keep on telling me that if you have read Avatar before going to Crescent City, you need to read Throne of Glass. And my theory is that she is connecting all her series together in kind of a universe. I don't know how that would work, because Crescent City is proper urban fantasy, and both Avatar as well as Throne of Glass are complete high fantasy. I've read at least 1 book from both the series, so I totally know what this world is about. I also liked reading Throne of Glass the first time I read it all those years back. I'll show you all the 8 books from the series now. I also put up a poll on my Instagram asking whether to read Throne of Glass first or the Assassin's Blade first. And 80 to 85% of you guys told me to start with Chrono Class, even though I've read the book already first. So my plan is to read the first 2 books in the series, then go to read the collection of novellas, and then continue on with the rest of the series. I'm also planning to do the tandem read that people are suggesting very strongly on the internet. So let's just see the separate books now. So this is the first book, Chrono Class. I just like this edition. It is not as beautiful as the original edition, okay? I have the first book alone in the UK edition for the original covers. It is white, it is beautiful. The first one is Throne of Glass. Book 2 is Crown of Midnight. Book 3, Air of Fire. I just love the original US cover of this one. It is bright green and it just looks so gorgeous. Those covers are just not available for me to buy right now. Queen of Shadows, book 4. If I'm not wrong, this is the most popular of all the books in the series. Empire of Storms is the next book, and I just love the art style for each and every one of these covers. Even though they are YA books, they just look so much like adult books to me. Then we have the penultimate book, which is Tower of Dawn. And this one and the previous book are the 2 which we have to tandem read. That is, alternate between chapters in order to exactly read the story as it is happening. The last book inside the series, which is Kingdom of Ash. It is huge. Okay, I think it's almost 1000 pages long. I can't wait to just dive into this one. And last but not the least, we have the collection of novellas, which is the Assassin's League. Don't worry, I'll not be reading this at last. Okay, I'll read the first 2 books at least and then read this one, then continue on with the series. If you have any other ways in which I can start reading the series or read it as such, please do let me know in the comments. But probably before this video is published, I would have started reading the series, so that is there. So yeah, I have it here, the older edition of Throne of Glass that I have in the UK edition. I have the first book alone. I love these covers because they just depict the character really well. In the front cover, she is an assassin with swords. And the back cover, she is just a beautiful woman wearing a beautiful gown. That's basically the 2 sides of the main character here, and I just love that depiction in the cover itself. So yeah, the last books to appear in this book haul are from the Throne of Glass series, and I will be finishing the series this year itself. So yes guys, those are all the 35 plus books that I bought so far this year in 2024. And I'm super excited to read each and every one of them, especially the series that I showed you guys. And my reading this year has also been quite good. It's not been as good as I wanted it to be, but still it has been really fun, and I hope that it will continue to be the so for the rest of the year too. If you want me to pick up any of the books that I've talked about in this book haul before any of the others, please do let me know in the comments so that I can try and start prioritizing them. And if you have read any of these books already, please do let me know in the comments how they are and what I can expect from them. And if you did enjoy watching today's video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also share it to your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.